Hello my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's video, which is a new type of video for my channel, my first ever craft with me / tutorial, or whatever you like to call it. So if you're just into the flip through videos where I share final products and how my books come out, you may want to skip this one. It's going to be long, so fair warning for those of you with a low attention span who don't like long videos. This may not be for you, but if you don't mind a long plain video with a lot of craft time included on camera, and you'd like to know how I created my most popular journal cover ever, which is my Midnight Garden Peacock journal, then this is for you. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is you like to drink and relax, or, you know, play a little game or something as this plays in the background, or craft with me as the title kind of implies it's meant for, because we are going to be making something today. So if you've noticed this big giant book in front of us here, this is the book I've been referring to as my hoarder's book, or like my big giant personal junk journal where I've stored all my favorite craft supplies. And one of the things I made for my hoarder's book, which I will be doing a flip through of at some point. It's daunting, it's big, it's hard to fit it all on camera. As you can see, I'm cut off here and here. But anyway, one of the things I made for my giant hoarder's journal is a copy of this Peacock Garden journal cover, because I do love it so much and I wanted to save a variation of it for myself. So this is going to be off camera from here on, but I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like before we build our version of this, so you can see kind of the final product. Anyhow, I'm going to set this aside. Like I said, it'll be off camera, but where I can see it as my kind of reference. And what will be shown here are the supplies we're going to be working with today. So this journal starts as a humble piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 11. I guess you could make it whatever size or shape you want. So this is just kind of my guideline, what I use for it. I always cover the cardstock with a full piece of fabric, and in the past I've used a few different fabrics for it. Like I used kind of a heavy, I forget what this stuff is called, but like a heavy upholstery fabric. I think that's what they called it. But as you can see, I didn't have enough of it left over to cover this, so we're not going to use that for today's book. I brought a couple pieces over that I thought I might choose to use, like this stunning piece that has kind of a blue paisley with some gold in it would look quite lovely. This being the back, and then this getting totally covered up with peacock stuff. Or maybe the other way around, this being on the back, that kind of spray of flowers, and this getting totally covered up. I'm not sure if I'll use that one. That's one of two possibilities. The other possibility I brought over is a really cool remnant of some corduroy, kind of floral embroidered corduroy that my grandma recently gave me. It's very nostalgic for me because she has a jacket that she made herself out of the same exact fabric. So she's given me kind of the scraps, which are gorgeous. I'm kind of liking this, because it has a heavier texture than this blue stuff. So I'm going to set the blue stuff aside and make a quick decision that we're going to go with the purple. So now the creative decision is this. We've got our big white piece of cardstock. Let's fold it in half so that we can see more easily which is going to be the front and which is going to be the back, and how much space we actually have to work with. So, for example, if I do the fabric here, actually, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Don't you love it when the first time you put the piece of fabric down, it's exactly where you'd like it? I'm feeling like I don't mind covering up the plainer bit there. And then for the back cover, having this gorgeous sort of floral embroidered motif. That's exactly how we're gonna do it. So I'm putting my cardstock down, and pardon me if I go out of focus. I'm not used to filming my crafting process. I'm used to just doing it and not being bothered by who can see what or who can't see what. So yeah, we're gonna do it. I like to give myself enough of an edge around the paper that I can fold it over. So we're not gonna worry too much about whether or not that splay of flowers is perfectly centered, because if we worry about that, we'll never get the book made. And I'm speaking from experience. When I was new to making junk journals, it would take me much, much longer because I would kind of fear ruining my materials or making a mistake. And since then, I've learned that mistakes are just opportunities to add other decorations. So yeah, I cut off this bit, and don't worry, that is definitely going to get used. That could make a beautiful pocket. It could make a really nice bookmark. It could be a good piece within a patchwork cover. And then we've still got this nice big piece left over. And I'll probably make a little something, maybe decorate a page for my own personal junk journal out of it as kind of a keepsake of my grandma's fabric. So what I'm gonna do is put this upside down and then put my glue directly onto the cardstock, and then flip the cardstock over and then fold over the edges. So I'll try to make this a little bit clearer in the video description or somewhere about what your material list actually is and what things to have ready. For example, scissors, Fabri-Tac glue, fabric pieces, etc. And luckily this is a really, really heavy sort of a corduroy, so I don't need to be worried about glue seeping through or being too careful about the thickness of the glue application. If we had gone with the really thin cotton, I would have put the glue down and then kind of like rubbed it with my fingers to get out all the big spots. But there we go. And yeah, I've experimented with all kinds of different glue for cover making, and Fabri-Tac is the only one that I buy from now on. I found Fabric Fusion left too many stains on my delicate fabrics. I do use a lot of tacky glue for paper, but not for fabric, again, because it leaves kind of a, not so much a stain as the Fabric Fusion, but it leaves a little bit of like a white crusty stuff that kind of seeps through the material. But Fabri-Tac is my go-to. So I didn't really describe what I was doing, but I trimmed the corners off just so that this is going to glue down straight. And I'm going to glue it down right now. The other thing I love about Fabri-Tac is that it dries pretty quickly, so you don't need to worry too much about holding your fabric down and waiting a long time for it to dry. And again, I'm not being too careful or too meticulous about my glue applications, just kind of globbing it out there. And I don't like to waste anything, so if it goes beyond the fabric, I kind of scoop it up with my finger and put it down on the next place where we're going to be gluing something. And don't mind all the cat hairs that are floating into the frame. They are all over my place. Don't order anything from my Etsy shop if you're allergic to cats, because you will be allergic to the package, most likely. then last one. And this is going to be a much less chatty video than my flip through videos because I'm still learning how to talk and craft simultaneously. My comfort zone is crafting alone, usually with a podcast playing in the background, or I kind of got into binge watching Antiques Roadshow on YouTube in the background as I do my crafting because you can listen to it and you only need to look up every once in a while. Anyway, that's going to be the inside. Look at how good that looks. So there's the back of our journal. There's going to be the front of our journal. Perfect. And it does have a really nice tactile feeling to it. So the inside, I'm not going to do it right now, but I will be gluing down a piece of decorative khadi paper, which is like a handmade paper from India. This is the pack I bought. I'm almost out of papers. I've used bits of a lot of them. This one I'm saving for eventually. I've spoken with Victoria, the talented artist whose channel is called The Girl with a Butterfly. And at some point, when we both have the time for it, we're going to do a journal exchange, a journal swap. So I'm saving this because I'm going to put that beautiful butterfly paper in the book I'll make for her. This I'm going to use in the journal I'm making for someone whose favorite color is orange. This I'm saving for one day if I ever do a Christmas journal. This, it's a little too light for the peacock theme. Those are just remnants. This I think looks a little too graphic. I don't know what I'll ever do with it. So I'm thinking this is the paper I'm gonna glue down to line that, just because, yeah, look at how nicely that works. The pink kind of pulls out the pink in our cover design. The leaves are pretty. And I will put pockets over it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tear this right out. So the reason I'm not going to glue it down yet is that, oh, see, that's going to totally cover it up. Perfect. Before I glue that down, I'm going to add our closure and then do our front cover decoration. So without further ado, let's do our front cover decoration. I've got some things ready, set to the side. It's going to start looking like our peacock journal. So I'm just gonna put the trims down so you can kind of see how I like to play with my materials before I get to the cutting and the gluing. And this might be a little thing, but one of the things I like to do when I'm working with an Indian trim like this is check to see whether I prefer the more colorful parts, so like the little pink flowers, pointing to the left or to the right. And that might seem like a minuscule thing that doesn't matter, but having attended art school a million years ago, I remember the visual flow of a composition makes a big difference in the final piece. So if we have these flowers going up and down, they follow the direction of the peacock's head. See how the head is swooping up and down? I like that flow better than if they were going this way, left and down and to the left, because then it kind of looks like it's going against the current of that peacock head. So I'm going to position it this way, like I've done on my original that I have as that little sample there. And then the top and the bottom are this beautiful sequin stuff. So that's how we're going to fill in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting. Oh, and if you're curious, that peacock is not actually an appliqué. It's a piece that I fussy cut out of this peacock trim. And I did that yesterday in preparation for making this journal. Before I kind of decided whether or not I was going to film this process. I figure you don't need to see every boring second of cutting. I've been kind of resistant to do a craft with me video, guys, and it's not because I don't want to share my process or anything like that. It's because I personally get pretty bored trying to watch other people craft. Like, there's a lot of YouTubers who do tutorials and craft with me videos, and personally I just get a little, like I said, I just get kind of bored watching other people do their crafting. I kind of like to see, how does the final piece look? And then based on that, I can kind of figure out either how to make it or how to make my own version of it based on what it looks like. So anyway, there we have it, what it looks like when we put our pieces down. And you might be wondering what to do if you don't have these exact trims. And I wish I could give you guys a shopping list or a link to where you can buy them, but it was so many years ago. It was pre-COVID. So like, I guess late 2019 when I bought these things. So I no longer have the address for the shop. But I brought a few other trims over here next to me just to show you that you can pretty much create something like this no matter what you have on hand. It'll look a little different, but it would still look good. So say if you don't have this kind of purple trim, it would still look kind of cool with red. And you could even do something like a darker, more gothic-y looking cover if you did like red and say black. See? And that looks like a much more midnight garden kind of a vibe, doesn't it? So I'm setting those aside. And then the last one I did, I don't have enough of this stuff left to use it, but the last time I made a journal like this one, I used some of this blue kind of peacock tail trim. And while I love this trim, I do feel like it kind of fights with the peacock's tail for, you know, visual supremacy. And then I've also got this stuff that's like black with little peacocks. So yeah, you don't need the exact trims. I have found that these are the ones I like to work with. You could also lighten it up by doing a pastel, and that really stands out visually. This one is kind of nice if you want to get rid of the midnight garden theme and have like a daytime garden theme. You could do something like that with a light pink, maybe red on the bottom just to anchor the eye. So you see how it looks like a totally different book when you layer different fabrics. I could even do a journal like this without the peacock and just make it really pretty shades of red and pink. And maybe I will one day. Getting out your supplies and just putting them down on a piece of paper and having a look at how you feel when you see them, that's the best way to come up with new book cover design ideas. Anyhow, I think I'm ready to glue down these pieces here. And so I'll start from the bottom and work my way up, just simply because this piece on the top overlaps that piece there. And so I definitely want this down before that one is down. So I like to do the glue just on the parts of this fabric that are not sheer. So like the centers of the flowers and over top of the gold. And I'm not worried about doing tons and tons of glue and making it really stick because I will sew around the edges. And you may have noticed I didn't put glue on the bottom part of this swoop, and that's just because we don't need glue hanging down the bottom of the book. this one can be a little bit less messy. Or not less messy, less precise. It can be a bit more messy because it's opaque. I'll trim that little bit before I sew it. Oh, I hate it when it leaves a glob, don't you? And then on the top, I like to make sure that this aligns with the corner. I wasn't so careful about that throughout the center. As long as the whole background is covered up, I'm happy. So there we go. There's our background. Now, normally what I would do is take this to my sewing machine and sew around here, 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 and here. But actually, yeah, I'm going to do that right now and then come back to the video. So bear with me. If I don't know how to edit it, I'll have to make this a two-parter, but here we go. Okay, welcome back. I have gone ahead and sewed down just along the sides to keep it tacked down. I didn't want to sew along the bottom because I would hate to disrupt the beauty of these pretty sequins. So yeah, this is our base. And I think it looks quite lovely. Don't worry about all the cat hair and stuff. I do brush these down with some tape roller before I send them off. But anyway, what I like to do now, similarly to what I did with the fabrics, is just lay down the elements I plan to work with before I actually glue anything in place. Now on the original, you may have noticed I had some fabric flowers kind of going around beneath the jewelry pieces. And so I've taken a little piece of sari fabric that I like to cut flowers out of. And I'm just going to show you on camera how I like to do that, because the first time I started cutting flowers out of fabric for journals like this, I was really scared that if I accidentally cut in the wrong place, the entire embroidery would unravel and it would look super messy. So sorry if I was doing that off camera. But what I've discovered with these machine embroidered pieces is that almost every stitch is a lock stitch, so you don't need to be too meticulous with your scissors. If you're kind of new to textile covers or just junk journal making, or if you've watched them for a long time but you haven't kind of gotten into these materials yourself yet, my biggest piece of advice for a beginner is don't be scared. Don't be scared to cut into that beautiful fabric that you love. Don't be scared to make a mistake. Don't be scared if you're not the greatest sewer to just get out that sewing machine and start. Nobody taught me how to, do these kinds of things. I just kind of figured it out through trial and error. Do I occasionally wreck something or, wish I had done something differently? Yes, but is it always, see, like right there, I accidentally cut that little flower petal off. So what I'm gonna do is just cut out the last little bit of the background and then set this aside, because I'm still going to use that but glued down onto a little piece of paper or something inside the journal, so nothing gets wasted. I do have some of the pre-cut printable pieces from a Peacock kit that I'm going to use in this journal off to the side. So for example, something like this, how cute is that going to be inside the journal with a little bitty flower like that glued to it? So yeah, truly No mistakes, nothing gets wasted. I'll put that there so I remember to use it. And I'll be a little bit more careful as I cut. Whoops, I pulled that right off camera towards myself to cut it. See, this is why, by the way, like I do kind of feel like I was nagged into making this video by viewers who commented saying, I forget her name, but there was a lady last week who said, you know, make a video sharing your process. And I replied back saying something like, you know, I prefer to craft on camera and my process is something that would be kind of difficult to try to film. And she said, well, at least film some of it. And I kind of thought like, wait, are you paying me to do this? Like, what do you mean at least film some of it? You mean at least donate more of my time to make free content for you to watch and at least do more that you want? Like, no, come on, like there are channels that do tutorials, go watch those ones. But then I kind of thought, instead of grumbling and complaining and feeling annoyed that somebody is dictating what I do on my channel, why don't I just try? And you know what? If it's too annoying to watch because I keep pulling the craft off camera, then maybe people will stop asking me to do tutorials because they'll be like, oh wait, this is unwatchable. And just do the flip throughs, and then they'll say, yay, I'll just do the stuff I want to do, the flip through videos. So yeah, let me know. Don't be too brutally honest, but let me know in a comment whether or not you're finding this watchable or listenable. You probably are if you're this far into the video. So anyway, I've got a few little flower bits to play with now. And I might also, so this is the part that I cut off that was kind of around our little peacock friend. I forget which parts were where, but I think it was something like that. I might cut out and use extra from here too, just because it'll add some more dimension to the fabric collage. These can be used kind of like leafy bits or like jewels. And it'll break up some of the purple. This is a very purple dominant kind of a cover. And so getting a little bit of navy blue and purple and green kind of helps break that up a little bit visually. Okay. So see, we can do something like that behind a flower. I may or may not use this big. I think that fights too much with the peacock. So how does it look if we just do something like this? This, by the way, it's a hair part ornament that I bought when I was in India. And it is a little kind of bejeweled peacock. Pardon the lighting, there are all kinds of forest fires in Canada right now. So no matter when I choose to sit down and film, like this is, believe it or not, the height of daylight here. And it is super, super dark because of that lighting, that smoke haze. I might just do a little purple cluster like this, even though we're purple heavy, because it does visually please me to see it like that. And then I might put this little guy down here, and what I'm thinking I'll do is tuck the parts that go into the hair under the trim so that the owner of the book can remove it and actually wear it in her hair if she ever wants to. I really love incorporating upcycled jewelry pieces into journals and then leaving them a little bit loose so they can still be worn. So I think that's what I'll do. Do we want any other colors back here? I don't think so. I kind of like it just as it is. I had also pulled this necklace aside thinking I might do one of those flowers in the center. Let's see. So I'm going to get my trusty little wire cutters out, and before you get upset that I'm cutting apart a beautiful necklace like this was a thrift find, and it does have a stone missing right there, making it unwearable. So it's like taking a piece of unwanted jewelry and making it into something that gets kind of like a second life. So let's see. If I clip that off. How would this look here? Ooh, I kind of like that even better. That bright, that deep, deep red. And then it's not going to look too strange to have the deep red that are kind of the jewels in the peacock. Yeah, that's how we're gonna do this. And then she'll have some fun, playful elements of these little dangling beads so that there's some movement on the cover for that little bit more of the visual interest. And then I'm going to tuck that in. There we go. It's always kind of fun when you recreate something that you've made before, but never in the same exact way. Like, I personally would never make the same identical cover twice. I might make something with the same base, the same theme, the same sort of an idea, but I feel like when somebody's getting a junk journal, because it is handmade and crafted and kind of specific to their preferences, usually they've got a request for some kind of special color or special kind of theme. Even if there's already been a journal made with that theme, it's nice to make it kind of different so that each piece is special and unique. I'm going a little heavy-handed with the Fabri-Tac on these just because I am not going to sew them. The only parts that I sew down are those background kind of strips. And Fabri-Tac does get these annoying clumps on it, but I sometimes like to, as you can see, just smush them down into the thing that I'm gluing and then glue around them. And while that might seem silly, it does add a little bit more three-dimensionality to the piece that's getting glued down. And that might not be something you'd want in every project, but for something like this, I think that's kind of a cool bonus. And this one a little bit. I don't necessarily want to hide those pretty pink flowers. I just realized that. So what if I glue this here and then it kind of hangs and you see those pretty pink flowers below, and then I put this up here? I think I'll put this little one up here. And then this one maybe over here. Or like that. Whoops. Like I said, this is why I don't normally do craft with me videos, because it's a lot of kind of boring thinking and placing. Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to do it. So I'll glue all over the back of this beauty, but kind of avoiding the center because I don't want glue to seep through the little holes. and avoiding the little dangly beads because we still want them. See, it still covers up some of the pink flowers, but when the beads swing and move, you can see others, which is kind of a nice visual detail. Now, if you're wondering why this is just kind of awkwardly hanging off the edge, once I stitch the pages in, then I'll fold that over and glue it down, and it'll look kind of cool decorating the back. And like I said, I will brush the heck out of the back of that to get rid of, whoops, should let that dry before I start picking up the book and showing the next steps. Do we want that glued down somewhere, or do we think this is enough? Yeah, right there is a cute spot for it. There. And like I said, every little bit gets used other than these little scrappy scraps. But this, for example, is going to look great glued onto just a plain coffee dyed piece of paper to give it some dimension and some shine. So there we go. While that's drying, whoops, just gonna make sure that these fall evenly. And they do. So now I'm going to get the closure ready before gluing this paper down as the lining. So for the closure, I found this really pretty, slightly stretchy purple ribbon. So I'm just going to measure out about 4 times the length of the book. Or I should say 4 times the width of the book. And find which is the prettier side. So this is the prettier side. I'll fold it so that the pretty side is in. You might be wondering why, but I like to fold it so that it's exactly even. There we go. And the closure is going to go inside right about there. So being careful not to disturb that piece that's going to take the longest to glue down. I'm just going to flip it open like this and then glue in this closure. Now I want the closure to be centered, and I also want it to be equal distance so that there's as much closed in the front as the back. So this is the same size as the cover. I'm just going to do a light little boop right there so that I can see where our halfway point is. And it's right there. So this, I don't know the name for these techniques. I don't think there is a name for these techniques. I've just kind of figured this out as I go, as I've been crafting. I like to do a line of glue down the measured center part of the journal and then fold it closed and then open it up again. And that way we've got glue on each side, evenly placed. And then remember how we folded this at exactly the halfway point with the pretty part in the middle? So that is so that we can glue it down easily. Oh, actually, we should have had there the pretty part facing out, not in. That's okay. It's an easy enough fix. Yikes, this glue is picking up all the cat hair bits, all the like trimmed threads and such, but that's okay. So just kind of stick that down. And normally, see, if I were to trim these, I would have sewn all around the edges so that they get stitched down. But because it's the full length going all the way across the book. You can tug on these and they're never going to get pulled out because everything is glued down on top of them. So with that said, we can now glue down our lining paper, but I am first going to trim just the slightest little bit, like just microscopically trim down there and down the side here. And I don't worry about being too perfect because I will glue down sari trim pockets on the inside, so that's probably going to get covered up anyway. Just a little bit more. And the reason is I don't want this pink paper sticking out the sides when the book is closed. And if you're really meticulous about your crafting, you can do that on a cutting board with an X-Acto knife and a ruler. I've never been that meticulous of a crafter, which is the other reason why I don't do tutorials. I don't have written directions for things. I like to eyeball stuff. I like to make things up as I go along. But there we go. So now I'm going to go over the edges of the fabric that's been folded over, but not too close to the edge since I don't want glue to squirt out. And then I'm going to put some in the middle too, and especially over the closure because we want that glued down top and bottom just so it's extra secure. Now I'll put the lid back on since we're done with our glue for this, at least for today, for this part of the project. And this cotty paper is very thick. So that's again why I didn't bother smoothing out any of the glue globs. This paper can handle it. So there we go. That's how it looks when it's lined. That's nicely glued down. That's how it looks when it's closed. This closure is going to be just a simple, cute little bow closure. And it's not too thick of a ribbon, which means we can still have lots of beautiful tabs and laces and tassels and things sticking out the side. Last step, I'm going to kind of peel back just the top little bit of this purple sequin trim, just like that, and then stick, I don't know what you'd call that, the little hook part of this, and then press it down so it stays. And there we go. It's always fun to incorporate jewelry into the design, isn't it? That might not actually stay on second thought. So, do we need anything else down here? I might just leave it as it is. It's kind of pretty. And then this I'll put somewhere inside the book instead. We can even get playful and stick it over the cover, kind of like a clip. Maybe I'll open that up again. That can also kind of sit up there with maybe a tassel flowing from it, although a tassel would hide the peacock's face. Well, I'm going to stop here for today and call it less is more and use this somewhere inside the book instead of on the cover. That'll keep it safer too, I think. But yeah, for now, this is how she looks. I think it turned out really nicely. It doesn't look like any other book I've ever made. And next week it should be ready to do a flip through video so you can see the finished book. But yeah, I hope the lovely customer who requested it is going to enjoy it. I hope the lovely viewer who demanded that I do some tutorial videos found it watchable and enjoyable. And no hard feelings. I hope you don't get insulted that I say I've had a bit of a reaction to the comment like, who do you think you are telling me what to do? That is kind of my go-to reaction in life when people tell me what to do. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in a comment and I will start doing more craft with me type tutorial videos. If you prefer the flip throughs, let me know that you prefer the flip throughs, because those are my favorite videos to do and I would rather kind of stick to those. But yeah, like I said, I thought I would try something new, see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching. Much love to you. At the moment, I am not taking requests for more custom orders. However, if you really want a book made by me, you're welcome to send me a message in my Etsy inbox and I'll let you know how long the wait would be to request a custom order. I'm working on 5 books right now, which is about 4 books past my comfort zone of how many I like to do at a time. So I hope you'll understand, it's a little bit busy. But I do still have books available for purchase that are already finished and complete in my Etsy shop, Art of Gems Stationery. And I'll put a link to that in the video description if you'd like to check them out and maybe claim one as your own. Anyhow, thank you again for watching. So much love to you. Happy crafting, happy journaling. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.